From Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Hi and welcome to She's the Boss, the show that's all about female founders and women doing amazing things in business. Now, before we start today, I wanted to talk about women stepping up in business, because on the back of the last two shows, I've been talking about the lack of funding for female founders, and particularly in the VC world, we're talking 2%, which is an absolutely ridiculous number. We need to get that higher, but I've been out there talking with men as well and talking to angel investors and various business people about this whole stat and how ridiculous it is, and they all seem a little bit confused and are going, the problem is when we do call outs and when we ask for women, we just don't get them. Women are not standing up. So what I wanted to say is, if we are going to start being able to access these kind of funds and push ourselves forward in business, then you've got to ask for things and you've got to push yourself forward. You can't just sit quietly and hope someone's going to discover you. And believe me, for many, many years, I thought that might happen to me, and it just doesn't happen. You don't get discovered, you've got to make it happen. So let me introduce my two fantastic guests today, both of whom are making it happen. I have the fabulous Jacqui Hayes, who's the founder of Madam Wheels, which is all about luxury car buying for women, which you'll be telling us about. And we also have the amazing Linda Enever, who is the founder of the group on Facebook that you might have heard of called Business, that's got about 30,000 odd members. I looked yesterday, nearly 31.
Yep.
And also she calls herself an ideas strategist, and that it really is just one of her incarnations, because let me tell you, I've known of Linda for a long time and we've known each other for a while, and there's been a lot of changes along the way. So welcome, girls.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you here. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Everyone have a little sip.
Cheers.
Okay, so the first thing I'd like to say is, what do you think about women stepping up? Do you think that that's an issue? You go first, Jacqui.
Oh yeah, I will start. Yes, and even for myself, it was very challenging to do it.
It's just nerve-wracking, isn't it?
It is nerve-wracking because I come from a very male-dominated, what was a male-dominated industry when I started in it as a journalist 30 years ago in newspapers.
Yeah.
And then to make the transition into a completely different environment, just based on the experiences that I'd had and the understandings that I'd come to learn through newspapers. It was tricky and scary, because in the world that I wrote about was financial services. It was fairly male-dominated as well.
There's a fantastic woman that I was speaking to the other day about this, and she said when she worked at Telstra, she was in a very male-dominated field in management, and that they had this huge meeting and it was all about salaries. And the guys were saying, well, what do people want? And she stood up and said, I want more money, and I want it now, and I want to know why we're not being paid as much. And she said there was a collective intake of breath from the women going, what are you doing? And afterwards her CEO came to her and said, thank goodness you did that.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for the women to do it. So what's your take on this?
Look, I kept a similar field, came from a highly male-dominated field in marketing and PR, and most of my roles, I was the only female on the field. And you know, I've been in management roles since I was 22 years old, and troubleshooting and doing all of that sort of stuff. But I think we have to stand up.
We have to.
We have to have the conversation.
And even if it's uncomfortable, we've just got to push ourselves forward.
Absolutely.
Because there are many men out there that want to champion us, but they can't do that if you don't come forward.
Yep.
And a really good example of that was when Aaron was first starting Ticker TV, he did some posts on LinkedIn, which is how I've ended up with this talk about great opportunity. But the interesting thing when I was talking to him the other day about the VC funding is he said, I did this call out and I said, I'm looking for people to interview, and got about 100 responses from guys and about 2 from women.
Wow.
So again, you don't get things if you don't ask for them. But anyway, let's stop talking about that now. Let's start talking about you two. So Linda, can you tell me what it is that you're doing now? And why are you doing it? I'm really interested.
And we mentioned it at the start. Ideas are what I do. I come up with ideas, we take them to market, and I love nothing more than helping business owners take their ideas to market. So that's what I do.
So an ideas strategist is go to you if you've got an idea and you'll help them plan
or help
it
me
out.
come up with the idea. So we'll help you come up with I want to do this, or I'm wanting to move into business, and I'll help you come up to an idea. It's a fancy word for troubleshooter. And getting to play with my bright shiny objects.
How
and you're
fantastic.
playing with someone else's project rather than my own.
Now, I know you've had a very long and interesting career, so I will touch on that in a few minutes, but can you talk to me a little bit about business? Because I think a lot of people out there probably know that Facebook
And they
group.
do know that Facebook group. And look, that community was founded, Jules, and you know, I talk about it. It's founded over a glass of champagne at my niece's wedding.
I didn't know
with
that,
me
right.
turning around going, I'm over the bullying, I'm over the bitching of Facebook work groups. There has to be a group where we can support each other and we can have a little bit of a conversation about business life and get the water cooler and all that stuff that we miss from the world of business.
Yes.
Without the, that was a really stupid question to
Don't
ask.
like what you're wearing. How much weight does she put on?
Why did someone, it's only the same people who help? And I just went, right, that's it. There has to be a space. So I said, right, I'll make a group where me and my 50 mates in business can all hang out together, and that'll be it. I don't have to be involved with any of the other Facebook groups. By the 24 hours that next day, there was 500 members inside that Facebook group.
I watched it grow exponentially, very, very quickly.
And it grew fast. And then it hit in 12 months, 2,500. And then it hit 5,000. And at that point in time, my accounts team said, what are we doing with this thing? Because you're tracking everything in PR and we're spending way too much time on this and not seeing an income from it. And that's when the community ramped up completely. We hit our 10,000.
How did you monetize it? How did you?
We ended up building the website. So we built the business website.
Right. And charge for membership.
Charge for directory listings, and we run articles and publications.
Nice.
And I said, my time in the world of family capers when we started the parenting site was the same reason, but it made me a better publicist. It made me a better marketing person because I understood both sides.
The other side.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm very good at helping people get on TV. Same thing.
Surprising what difference it makes.
I know. So Jacqui,
Yes.
you are one incredible woman, because I don't know a lot of women really that will jump into automotive like you have, and at the luxury end, which of course I love and adore, because it just makes me feel really excited that the kinds of names that you drop are Maserati and Ferrari and Bentley. But tell everyone what it is that you do and why you're doing it.
Well, the reason I'm doing it is very much about supporting women, actually, because there isn't enough of it, and that's a particularly difficult space for women to play in if they want to buy a car at the luxury end, or any end really. I mean, I don't know many women who haven't had, or know someone who's had a bad experience on the car showroom.
That's a
floor.
Facebook group you could start. Are you a woman who's had an issue with a car or a mechanic?
That's probably a good idea. We should talk about it, because apparently you know how to do that.
It could be your group all you like.
So and having worked at the Fin Review for many years and written about cars, and
so you were the motoring writer?
Not at all. No, I
Review,
must say, big disclaimer: I am not an automotive journalist at any stretch of the
So
moment.
you were just a journalist.
I'm a
doing
journalist
other
writing
topics.
about anything of interest to high net worth individuals, usually with a finance focus.
Right.
So that was my column, first class. And whenever I could jump into the cars, I would, because that would be my passion, is the cars going fast, the luxury, the appointment, the technology wrapped up in that vessel, this almost time machine that could sweep you off into a beautiful experience.
Listen to her talk about cars.
This is what cars should be.
It's something that gets
women
me from A to B.
feel intimidated by that industry, especially because it's such a bloke's thing. And that's no offence to the men, because that's their game, that's what they're playing, and that's fine. But the women should feel as empowered to go there, because they're increasingly, well, as you know, are making 85% of the big decisions in the household, the big ticket items in the car especially.
And these are also surely at the high-end corporate kind of roles as well.
The wives, the girlfriends, the
women who've broken through the glass ceiling that actually get those kind of budgets to go and buy a great car.
But also they're earning that money now increasingly in their own right, so they're going out and buying the car. So what I do is I help those women, because they haven't got the time or the inclination, they've got the budget. They want to be able to reward themselves for their hard work, and they don't want to have to face any pushback when they're doing it. So, and they also don't know what car they want sometimes. So it's a function of putting together their personalities, their sensibilities and their lifestyle with appropriate cars, presenting them to them, giving them the option to try them, and then letting them, without the push and the pressure of sales.
Yeah, great. Now, so one of the other things, I don't know whether you are still doing this, but I love it so much we have to talk about it, is your driving experience weekends.
Yes.
Because I know that you actually offer women where they can go away for a weekend, stay somewhere fabulous and drive amazing cars.
Well, obviously that's a bit on hold and has been.
Yes,
so this idea of being able to organise...
The idea is so great.
with Bentley, for example, so we had a fabulous weekend up in Byron Bay. And we were able to drive around the hinterlands there in these incredible GT Continentals and the Flying Spurs and the different types of cars that they have, and to experience the cars in the environments for which they were built, and to feel what it could be like to be in this car, and how easy they are to drive these days, and how wonderful the technology is, and how you could run your office from these cars as you're zipping around and living your life.
So what was the sort of light bulb moment that you suddenly thought, I'm going to set this up? There must have been something that happened.
There was literally a light bulb moment. I was at Chadstone, that massive shopping centre here in Melbourne. just dropping a suitcase off for repair, and I ran into a guy called Peter Hackett, who's the chief drive instructor for Mercedes-Benz Australia. He runs a lot of drive track days.
Right.
And I'd stopped at the Fin Review about a year earlier and had been navel-gazing, thinking, what am I going to do? I don't want to go back into print because newspapers are a different game. Money's not there. The expectation is blood from a stone. But I love cars and I love women, and how do I do this? And I thought, and he said, and I said, I'm sort of toying with this notion of a blog about cars for women.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I don't know why you're not doing it. It's so obvious. Like, no one's doing it. You've got the network.
That's true.
They're throwing you the
there's no one doing
keys.
it.
And, well, there are female journalists, to be honest.
No, but are there women that are helping other women buy high net worth cars?
No, it's a very niche.
It is.
And it is the first of its kind. We can't find anything globally that's similar, to be honest.
Amazing. And such a good name too, Madam Wheels. Don't you
yeah.
love it? I just love it. And
We
the
had
logo,
fun coming up
everything.
with that.
I bet.
Yes.
I bet.
That's great fun.
Okay, so now my next question to you, and I'll start with you, and I don't even know how you're going to be able to get this into the next 5 minutes, but can you tell me some of the things that you've learned along the way that we could share with people to maybe help them in their own journey?
Down even to what we said we started this episode on, and it comes down to valuing yourself and knowing what your value is.
Absolutely.
When I went back into the consulting world, and
Start from when you got. What were you doing before the consulting world?
Well, I was, I worked for corporate organisations,
Okay.
but I stood up from the moment. I didn't care if I lost my job.
Yeah,
For most of my life, I just like, this is what I want next, and if you don't give it to me, then I'm just going to go find another job because I can do that.
Yeah.
So that approach to corporate life was pretty awesome. But we started Family Capers, which was a parenting hub, and as we launched Media Connections, we've got 5 businesses, and we'll go to 7 by the end of the year within the team, which is, it's just amazing. A little crazy, which is why I work on other people's projects now, not my own.
So Family Capers, which was a parenting hub.
Yep.
Then you went to Media Connections, which was really a bit like Handle Your Own PR.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
it's still
connecting people with journalists.
Yeah, well, we still do the same things. We still run a media membership base where they get nagged by us on a weekly basis about what they should be putting together. And, from the human to human angle, I know my journalist network they like me because I can pull 15 people at once now together for a story.
Right.
But they really don't want to talk to me. They want me to.
They want the business owners.
So that's where Media Connections does its things. Yeah. But through that journey and through the journey of Family Capers, I saw business owners not understanding the time frames of media and how to respond and how to work with journalists and do all of that sort of stuff. They'd hit me 2 days before going, I want this in the paper. I'm like,
you needed to start work on it 2 weeks ago.
Don't talk to me. I can't help you with that. And so we did all of those sorts of things. But I learned at that point in time, because we were working with Family Capers and because we were working with mums in business in particular in that space, I wanted to help them all. Helping them all at a reduced rate was not helping myself.
No.
It was only burning myself out. And I didn't need the money, but it was making me resentful of those clients that we worked with. And I worked with some amazing business owners and would still work with them. And some of them still work with me on the new rates. Versus I will charge you $500 a month. I charge you $500 a month for your marketing. That was just stupid.
Wow.
But that actually addresses a really interesting point, which is that a lot of women undercharge. And what happens when you undercharge, and this is a little tip for all of you, what happens, not only do you burn out, but your work isn't valued.
No.
And so people will look at someone who's charging $5,000 and someone who's charging $500 and go, there's something wrong with that one. I'm going to go with the more expensive one, which is crazy, but it's true.
And I've been working with course creators through the Thinkific platform at the moment and through their mentoring program. I'm getting there, but my course isn't selling. We've upped the price, or we've value added something into the price, and the sales within the first 7 days just by making that value change.
Right. Yes.
And it's only because someone's sitting there going, well, that's $49. What am I going to get for $49? Nothing really.
No.
But it's $197. Oh man, we're in.
It must be really big.
Wow.
Yes, it's really interesting.
And it's not because the content isn't worth $197.
No.
It's because
you were trying to do a favour. Well, we sort of think we'll price it low because that'll make everyone appreciate it and everyone will buy, but they don't. They think there's something wrong.
Exactly.
There's a woman I know who, for her PR, was charging like $500 a month compared to my $3,500 a month, and she'd go, I don't understand why I can't get customers. And I said, it's such a massive price difference that they're going, there can't be anything in there if everyone else is charging up here.
I completely agree.
Anyway, sorry, and I interrupted you. So
we need to value what we charge.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely.
And that comes when women, all people in business, that we all need to value what we charge.
That's right.
And I've spent most of my career standing up against men and women, and I got told very early on in time, Jules knows my husband's 25 years older than me.
Yep.
The amount of times that I get the lovely like, isn't it nice that your husband lets you have a business?
Ooh.
A, you haven't met me long enough to know that that is not the case. B, now what would you like to say to me? Because I can tell you what, when he started his consulting firm, I was the one on $200,000 a year making sure that we got the business.
And that assumption that you weren't is
so amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So just hold that because I know you've got loads more advice. But Jacqui, can you tell us
I want to hear it.
on your journey? You're going to hear it in a minute. Tell me on your journey what maybe something that you've learned that would help somebody else. Or do you want time to think about it?
Oh, no, I mean, that thing about valuing yourself is something that I found very hard coming out of a journalism career and then trying to put a dollar number, a figure on myself
your value.
and my time. That's been very hard for me to do, and I still haven't nailed that one, actually. That's why I'm super curious to continue to hear these bits of these vignettes of... and also, too, you would think coming out of journalism, I would understand the value of research. But I came out of that conversation with Pete Hackett, that light bulb moment of, oh yeah, this is going to work, and I just believe it. You know, it'll
build it and they will come.
That thing, and yet
it doesn't.
No, it is very
it's
much.
It's like waiting to be discovered. Let me tell you, it doesn't. You've just got to work really hard.
Especially in the world of social media, where everybody's so distracted all the time and they're drowned in information. If you aren't out there spruiking yourself, being a supporter of yourself, and being very good at how you package that up before you actually start doing it and start falling over, I would just get that package done very succinctly and well before you kick off. And it doesn't need to be perfect because things change.
Absolutely, they
change. Be ready to evolve.
But it gives you a foundation to start building from.
Absolutely.
And so that I think was key for me. It was a key understanding is coming out of journalism, not having ever run a business and having no business now, not whatsoever apart from what I've spoken to business people about. But yeah,
no, that's really good advice. And actually, I always ask people these questions, and that comes up a lot. And I didn't do it when I started my business either. Don't worry, I just went on gut instinct. I think it's right. Yeah. Which is hopeless, but anyway.
But we've all done the research.
That's right. Lots of research.
It's like business 6 and 7 has so much more planning behind it.
Exactly.
All the domain names available. Let's go.
And speaking to a woman who is on business 6 and 7. So what other thing have you got? I interrupted you before to go.
No,
to
that's
Jacqui.
okay.
So we were talking about things that you've learned along the way and experiences that you've had. So have you had any disasters that you've learned from? Because one of the things that I want to also say to anyone out there who's starting out is you don't learn from successes. The other day I was asking someone in the podcast for She's the Boss, tell me, have you any successes or failures you've learned from? And I've thought, you don't ever learn from success. You just learn, woo, that's great. But it's the failures, or not even the failures, it's the challenges.
But we don't.
No, and failure is the wrong word as well. It's more the challenges that we have along the way that you learn not to do that the next time.
As Jacqui was saying, when I came out of the corporate world, I was used to web developers, IT guys doing what I asked, it all looking pretty, doing what I said, and it worked. The first version of Family Capers, you saw it. It was a dog's breakfast. It was built on 4 different platforms because I'd listen to people saying to me, no, you can't do that. And instead of me fighting back and going, and I would have in the corporate world going, no, it has to all work on one bloody platform. I had to come back and say, why wasn't it working? So that was version 1. Version 2, the web developer came in and it got a little bit too hard, so they went live, but they broke every single link on the website.
Every single link.
So I went through a crash development course of learning how to build WordPress websites in a weekend. Because I just wouldn't go to our advertisers and all of that sort of stuff saying that this wasn't ready and it wasn't going to work. Number 3 was
learning.
Number 3 was a $30,000 investment as I handed my baby over to Clive to manage and everyone else to manage as I walked into the world of media connections, and because they were like, we're going to get ready to sell this baby. And I'm like,
so this was Family Capers.
And I'm like, born with my child, you can't sell my baby. If you're going to, I'm definitely not involved in the process anymore. Right. I've got to distance myself because I was way too emotionally attached to that business. And
did that work? Did they sell it in the end?
We have actually kept Family Capers inside the area because, once again, I was too emotionally attached to it. The vision and the education component of Family Capers is really important about supporting families through its journey. But with business, with media connections, with the knowledge search, the marketing circle, the coaching circle, and the course creator, and the course creator, well, let alone the fact that I consult amongst all of that, there has to be something, and Family Capers needs to sit for 2 years and then come back. It needs to come back with the right manager in place And it also needs to sit for 2 years without me reaching in to save it, because if someone couldn't do something, if someone couldn't do that, I would jump in to save it.
Yes, and you really have to keep your eye on the ball.
Yep.
Really keep I mean, it's a plate you need to keep in the air, but that one can spin on its own while you...
Yeah, it's great. And like we met Cookie Monster, we met Elmo, we've done all of those sorts of things.
Fantastic.
But
also I think, I mean, and I started off with my PR agency focused on parenting as well, because when you've got little babies, that is your whole world.
Well, exactly.
And I do remember clearly going, and if we work on all these amazing innovative products, they'll probably give us samples and I can use them on my children. So that was a sort of a semi-ulterior motive. But as you go further along, even though it's your baby, it's still not as relevant to you. And
it wasn't.
No.
And for me, it became, Charlotte's now 11. That site did its 10 years. It did its 10 years in the market, and out of the ones that started with us,
still there.
There was Kid Spot, Belly Belly, and us. That was it. That stayed for our 10 years, and that's a pretty good milestone.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
But we want to redo stuff.
Yeah, great.
And what we need to do with that site is just walk away for a little bit and reinvent it the way that it needs to be invented for the parenting lifestyle now, because the way I parented 10 years ago is different.
And also you may twist it and turn it into something that grandparents or I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do with a name like Family Capers. There's a lot you can do as well.
The whole family. And that was most probably, just like BBB and everything else, a little bit hard for everyone to understand that we wanted to include everyone.
Yes.
And we weren't excluding at any point.
Yes.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Which is really nice, because it's very nice to have that inclusive thing. So anything else that you want to share in terms of things that you've learned along the way?
Push back. But you will fail.
What do you mean by that? Have you got an example?
Push back. If someone says no, ask why.
Yeah,
that's a really good...
So that's the question. And look, I had a boss who used to say to me, I will not get upset if you screw up. He said, I'll get upset if you stop and you don't make decisions.
You don't have to go.
Yes.
Now, many people would say that this particular gentleman was the most misogynistic person you would come across, but it was his generation. He would offer you your arm, you go out for dinner, and yes, he liked pretty women. But for crying out loud, at 22, he put me on the top of his Australian company.
Which is saying
something.
Yeah.
And going, and when I got hit back by them, male and female managers at that point in time going, she's a kid, what would you know? He said, well, I started this company at 22.
Yes.
Are you telling me you don't want your jobs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great comeback.
And it was an amazing comeback, but that was that support and that belief, especially at that point in time where I didn't really care. I'm like, I can walk out down the street tomorrow and get another job.
Yeah, that's right. And I think if you can have that confidence, which I always kind of had as well, where I was like, fire me if you want to fire me. I mean, either I'm going to do this the way that I think it should be done, or I'll go and do it in another company.
We made such great employees, didn't we?
Or start my own.
And here you are.
That's right. When, the boss is great and they tend to understand you really well and let you have the days off that you need. And there is a beautiful thing about working for yourself. So what have you found since you have moved into working for yourself? And I know that some of it has been a struggle, but it's also very empowering, and you must be building a reputation now as the woman that is the person to go to for luxury cars.
Yes, and I think what Linda was saying earlier too about I just lost my train of thought there, but no, I find it really hard to sometimes find the right market. And I find being able to juggle all the social media, doing everything by yourself, and that's very difficult for me. So what you were saying before about the web collapsing and you having to go and do a crash course in how to build a website effectively. You do need to know how to do everything.
Yes.
Every step of the way when you're in it at this level, this founding, beginning level. So because things go wrong and you need to be able to fix them right then and there, be there for people quickly. I think the important thing is just be yourself too.
I agree.
The most successful times have come from being completely authentic and being still and being grounded and staying in your power.
Yes.
And not being affected by the noise around you, by what people think is required and what might fit better. It's just what sits with me, what is my value set, what is my goal, what am I trying to achieve, and just sticking that path. That's been hard to do.
Yeah.
And what about support though? So along the way, have you had business coaches? Have you got somebody that's doing the journey with you in any way? Because I, again, think that that's a peculiarly, very hard to say, peculiarly female thing, but I actually think that if you can have that support. So I did some stacks of networking in my early years and met people who are still great friends today that have supported me because, and then I started the She's the Boss lunches again because you've got nobody to kind of chat to
soundboards.
about the fact
Yeah.
that this is really difficult, and
So-
do you know someone who's good at social media
Yeah,
or
right.
to do the website or whatever it might be that you need?
I came across a wonderful woman in the very early days, Kylie Bartlett, who...
She's been on the show as well, yes.
Yeah, you know Kylie very well, of
I
course.
do.
And she
also
helped
likes
me.
champagne, which is a big
She
fan.
does. She helped me build the brand. She helped me pimp out the whole storyline. She helped me... Yeah,
she's amazing.
She is extraordinary. Like
Yeah,
that whole
great.
story and bring it into one thing and then helping you put into words. I hate writing about myself. I don't like filming
No, I
myself.
don't think any women
No,
like writing
no.
about
But
themselves.
Coming into that space now, she
Yeah.
really helped me own that.
Great,
So
great.
She was my absolute
Yeah, no,
champion.
I think if you can have someone to do that journey with, it makes a huge difference. What
Does-
about you? Because you've been, obviously, you've had Clive all the way through.
Oh, and people say to me though, but he's not my coach.
No, well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, who
Because I
have you
kill
got
him.
that
He's
to
my
lean
worst
on?
client ever. One of my girls called him yesterday and said, either you've got to do something or Linda's going to come and kill you. She's going to work
Anyway,
from
I've heard that one
her
before.
office to your office and start strangling you very shortly.
Love it, love it.
And that's part of what we realised is that I can lead my team to look after him, but my team need to interact with him because it comes back to the husband-wife thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And working in the husband-wife situation is, you know, it's really easy for one of us to walk out in the weekend and go, I think we should be doing this. And I'll be like, we said no work. I'm
Right,
scared
so
of the
you
little
have a rule
person.
at
I'm
home.
scared of the little person who we promised no work.
So you have a rule with you and your husband that, like, at the end
We
of the
try
day
to. No,
and weekends,
at
as
the end
much
of the
as
day,
you
it
can.
doesn't work.
No, but
Well, I mean,
weekend.
at the moment, but yeah.
How do you juggle it?
So we've gone back to Why Not Saturdays, and Why Not Saturdays, you get in the car
Yes.
and someone suggests something, and you say,
You go,
why not?
Why not? Okay.
And
Oh, I
you
like
go
that.
and you look at a waterfall, or you have lunch, or you stop at the coffee shop that is right in front of you.
That is a great idea.
And
I like that.
especially once COVID, the restrictions on COVID restricted, all I felt was, I want to go see a waterfall. He's look at me and I went, it's a Why Not Saturday. Off we go.
That was my suggestion. We're doing
going
it.
to find a waterfall. He's like, we won't find one in Bendigo. I'm like, waterfalls near me in Google. There's 3, let's go.
That's gorgeous.
That is so funny.
But that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have your
absolutely.
coach and have 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really important. So, girls, we are almost at the end of the show.
Oh.
Can you? I know it just goes like that. It's never.
It's too
it just
fast.
goes in the blink of an eye. Can you tell people how people can get hold of you
I've
or
got a-
Madam Wheels?
Yep, website, Madam Wheels, without
Dot
an E, so
com
madamwheels.com.au and
Yep.
Ticker and, TikTok.
TikTok?
TikTok even.
Oh, you're a TikTok girl.
I'm on it.
TikToker.
Oh, you're on
Madam
it.
Wheels in the usual, social platforms.
It'll be so good
It's
on
everywhere.
TikTok.
That is great. And what about you, Linda? What's the best way for people to get hold of you?
Through the Linda Reid Enever website. So,
Okay.
and if you type Linda Reid Enever into Google or social media, I pretty much pop up.
So it's Linda with an L. Just spell it for people. just-
LINDAREEDENEVER.
And it's .com.au.
.com.au.
Great.
Yep.
All right. So, 2 amazing guests. Thank you so much. I just also wanted to say thank you all very much for coming. I hope you've really enjoyed the show today. Now, through She's the Boss, I have started doing free Friday lunches, which you are more than welcome if you're a female founder to come along and sort of chew the fat and maybe have a little cheeky glass of bubbles with some other women. And we are about to start a podcast, and I will be getting both of these women to do an hour-long interview with me so I can really get into the nitty-gritty. We've also just launched a product called Fig Jam, which I'm not even going to say what it stands for because I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it is for women, and its journalists will write to help you write your bio so that if you want your story up, you can do it that way. And you can find all of it at she'stheboss.com.au. So thanks very much for coming, and I hope to see you next week.
Hey, good morning. Tickers new breakfast show.
Done in time.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more. Introducing Ticker Sport.
Mate, how exciting is it to kick off Ticker Sport?
Mate, I'm as pumped as you, which is pretty pumped. We're here to talk sport, business, there's a market, there's a niche.
It's David Davidovich and Adrian Franklin tackling the biggest issues.
Mate, we're talking sport, but we're talking business as well. And as you know, right now, there is no more important time. The world has changed and we are here to react.
Where nothing's off limits.
This is unprecedented. We've never seen sport ground to a halt like it has. Sport's heading in a completely different direction and we will be at the forefront.
Every Friday, live on Ticker and on demand via the Ticker apps.